Hey, it's me, Pudog3, and today I'm going to be ranking every Smiling Friends episode, from worst to best.
You kissed your dad on the mouth?
But I am not including the, currently as I'm recording this, 3 episodes released for Season 2. If one singular person likes this video, I'll do a part 2. And I'll do all the episodes from Season 2. But right now I'm just going to go over Season 1 because recently I rewatched the whole thing and I really friggin' liked it. Now I know what you might be wondering. Why are you covering Smiling Friends? You have never talked about Smiling Friends ever. I fear you're wrong. I made one video on my second account where I said, bro think he Gwimbly. So yeah, I referenced Smiling Friends. But before I get started, I'd like to say that the Smiling Friends show it's a quite simple premise. It is about a company that their goal is to make people smile. And there are characters like Pim and Charlie and Alan and Glep and Mr. Boss. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get the vibe by the end of the show. Also, if you're wondering why does this yellow man look quite familiar, if you do think that, because he is voiced by Zach Hadel.
Turn on the TV, they hit the Pentagon! They hit the Pentagon!
Who's also one of the co-creators of the show, and the other one is Michael Cusack. I am infamous for saying names wrong, so sorry guys if I, said those wrong. Now before I get started, I'd like to say that I like every episode. I think that this show is really good, and there isn't a bad episode in this batch of 9. But yeah, I figured it'd be fun for me to talk about why I like this show and some of the funniest parts about this show. And if you haven't seen Smiling Friends, spoilers, I guess, but also if you haven't seen Smiling Friends, go and check it out because it is a very good show. And I don't want to just be your only thing talking about it. I'm just yapping at this point. Let's get to the video. Let's get to the rankings.
My own doo-doo feces, okay?
Who violently murdered Simon S. Salty? This episode is about Charlie and Pim leaving the movie theater, and they want a little treat. So Charlie says, how about we go to this restaurant that I liked as a little homunculus? Pim says, okay. They go to this place called Salty's, and once they're inside, they find out that all of the food that Charlie liked on the menu has been taken off for a healthier alternative. This enrages Charlie, and he demands to go talk to Salty himself, who is taking his iconic 7 o'clock nap. But guys, I don't know if the title gave this away. He is not taking his iconic 7 o'clock nap. He has been violently murdered. So Pim and Charlie call the police, and they find out that the police have outsourced murder mysteries. That is in charge. That is the Smiling Friends. They have to do that now. The whole episode is basically just them doing a murder mystery, which is why I put it last on the list. This one doesn't vibe with me. There's some parts I like. I like the grease puddle. Fun fact, that grease puddle was supposed to be voiced by Chris Chan before the incident. And all the little characters are very uniquely funny in their own way, and I like that. I like that the cup says he got doo-doo feces on his costume, which if you didn't know is a reference to something Michael Jackson said.
There was doo-doo feces thrown all over the walls, the floor, the ceiling, and it stunk so bad.
I'm just gonna rank this one last, and now we're gonna move on to number...
Oh my god! I love the Enchanted Forest!
Next up on my list is the Enchanted Forest episode. The Enchanted Forest episode is not bad by any means. This is what I said earlier. I like all of these episodes. The Enchanted Forest episode is about Pim and Charlie being called to the Enchanted Forest to do a task and make the princess smile. Along the way, they meet this little guy named Mip, and Pim hates him. When they first get there, Charlie's like, oh man, I don't want to do any of these stupid quests. Let's just get out of here and leave. And Pim's like, I've always wanted to go to the Enchanted Forest ever since I was a little kid.
You kissed your dad on the mouth?
And Mip makes Charlie really like the Enchanted Forest, and Pim is very jealous and envious of this. Also, Mip is a terrorist, and that's crazy. That is a crazy ending to that episode. But it's really funny, and I mess with it a lot.
Bob the whole time?
I just really like the relationship between Pim and Charlie, and I think the more that they're in it together, the better the episodes are. This little romance going on between Charlie and Mip, it doesn't cut it for me. It's underrated. However, I'm not going to be the one that rates it high.
I hope you learn from this cool experience.
Next up is Charlie dies and doesn't come back. This is the, basically, it kind of works as the season finale because when they were coming out, like, you know, when they were coming out, this was the last episode and it was like the Christmas special. However, they do have another episode after this one. We'll talk about that later. Charlie dies and doesn't come back it's a cute little Christmas tale. And Charlie goes to Hell, and that's hell. He goes to hell, and he is tasked with having to make the devil himself smile. And if he can do this, he can get his get out of hell free card. So yeah, he kind of wants to do this and go back to Earth. A few notable things from this episode is we find out there's a payoff from a joke from a previous episode where Charlie says his grandmother died from eating peanuts. And then we see Grandma in this one, and she apparently went to hell because when she saw her husband get in the head by a burglar, she said D, and so she went to hell. But yeah, Charlie comes back. So the title is wrong, and just for that, it is getting to the bottom of the list. Screw you, Zach Hadel.
It's Mardi Gras right now, so
Oh,
it's super
Mardi
busy.
Gras.
Mardi
Oh,
Gras.
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Next, we have the Smiling Friends Go to Brazil! Exclamation point. This episode is literally a conversation between Pim, Alan, Glep, and Charlie about how they were supposed to book a hotel in Brazil, but they didn't, and now they can't because it's Mardi Gras. So they just pack it up and go back home.
To be left alone.
Well,
right now,
listen,
please.
you have a very good stay in Brazil, my friend, all right?
Thank
Brazil
you.
is a very good country.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it is. Yes, it is. Yes, we love Brazil. Thank you. Dude, when he moved his arm, I thought he was gonna hit me.
For as simple and lackluster as this plot is, it is actually hilarious. It is the most real thing I think Smiling Friends does in this entire show, and there is tons and tons of bits of the characters just arguing and having very like realistic arguments, which is kind of the charm of the show, if I'm being honest. And then in this episode, they just do that bit the entire time. I can't place it too high because, you know, they kind of just animated the characters walking around an airport, but I do really like the episode, so I think about halfway through the list is a good spot for it. But now I'm gonna move on to
Okay. What? Oh, I was just saying okay.
Silly Halloween Special. The Smiling Friends are throwing a silly Halloween party at the Smiling Friends HQ. However, they don't have any firewood for the silly Halloween bonfire that they plan on doing in the middle of the office. I don't know, this Mr. Boss guy is crazy. That's one thing, if you haven't watched the show and you don't know this Mr. Boss guy is actually crazy. He does things that only a insane man would do, and that is why people like Mr. Boss. Pim really is excited for Halloween, so Pim goes into, I guess, connected to the Enchanted Forest. He goes into the woods and goes picking up twigs. I love picking up twigs. There's one simple request that Mr. Boss does, and he tells him to not go over the rickety bridge. Pim goes over the rickety bridge and is basically chased by a skinwalker through the woods. And then they accuse the skinwalker for being racist and kill and eat him at the Halloween party. I just really like how cinematic this episode looks, and it kind of goes like really hard for no reason. But yeah, that's about it. I just kind of like this episode a good bit.
I love kids, Charlie. I love kids.
Desmond's Big Day Off. Well, the plot of this one is it is showcasing what the Smiling Friends do. Pim and Charlie are tasked with trying to help this guy named Desmond who wants to, how do I say this in a PG friendly mannerism? Desmond wants to be a part of the Luke Bookvault Nerf Gun channel, but not for very long because he is gonna leave the channel as soon as he joins. So Pim and Charlie have to cheer him up, and they bring him all around town trying to cheer him up, and eventually he finds out that his purpose in life is killing these little pink creatures called Gwimbleys. This is the pilot for the Smiling Friends episode, and it has all the ingredients to make a good Smiling Friends episode. If you have never seen or heard of Smiling Friends, I think you should check out the pilot, and if you don't like the pilot, I guess you just don't vibe with this show. I don't know, but the pilot is a good showcase of like what is so good about the show and why it's so funny. They have so many background Easter eggs, and it's just really, really good.
It is open.
Shrimp's Odyssey is about Charlie and Pim, again, getting their little task to go help this guy named Shrimp. Shrimp is dealing with a heartbreak, and he wants to get back with his ex-girlfriend, Shrimpina. Shrimpina is not shown in this episode at all. I hate to tell you this, but Pim, it's pre-established in the beginning of this episode. Pim has horrible eyesight. Shrimp tells Pim where Shrimpina lives, so Pim goes to the wrong place because his eyesight is bad. Here he meets this girl named Jennifer, and Jennifer is a human. Pim thinks this is Shrimpina, and chaos ensues. He falls in love with this girl. It doesn't work out because Pim is just Pim needs to get his eyes checked. That's the whole point of this episode. It's a really big misunderstanding, and that's where the whole comedy comes from.
Pim, her name was Shrimpina. She'd be a shrimp.
I did think that for a moment. I just thought it was like a quirky, you didn't expect she was going to be a human thing.
I like it. It's really good.
I'm Mr. Frog. This is my show. I eat the bug.
Next is Mr. Frog. All you need to know about this one is Mr. Frog is one of Charlie's favorite celebrities who is now getting canceled because he put a TMZ reporter in his mouth. So Pim and Charlie, what do? They have to make him smile, my friend. They have to make him smile because they are the smiling friends. Do you understand this? Mr. Frog is a really funny character. All he does is kind of just go, hello, I'm Mr. Frog. Hello, I'm Mr. Frog. I eat the bug. But I think it's a really hilarious commentary on celebrities. If you see what Mr. Frog becomes in season 2, this episode is even funnier.
Get out of me!
No, nobody's mentioning your head, man.
Okay, now it's time for the moment that you all have been waiting for. I'm going to say my #1 favorite Smiling Friends episode. It's Frowning Friends. I really like that episode. Basically, the bizarro versions of Pim and Charlie come into town, and they keep telling everybody that life sucks and they need to be miserable. And Pim and Charlie keep having to go and correct their mistakes or get to the people before the Frowning Friends get to them. Basically, we find out at the end that Mr. Boss hates competition, and these guys are not friendly competition. So Mr. Boss tries to kill these guys, but then he makes them smile. The episode ends with the Renaissance men coming into town, and it brings, just don't ask, but it brings the whole episode full circle. Yeah, I don't know, man. Just me describing the plots and describing what my thoughts on the episodes are. It can't do it justice because there's so many little funny little jokes in there that just you won't get unless you actually watch the show. And if I try explaining the bit, it's going to be too long of a video. I might as well just show you the actual episode, but I can't do that. So go on Max or Hulu or something and go watch Smiling Friends. Go watch it. I totally recommend this. I'm going to rate this show a 5-star ranking. And there's no nuance in that score. I'm just going to give it 5 stars. And from now on, every time I review a movie or a TV show, I'm going to give it a ranking. So subscribe for more awesome, epic content, guys.